This is a story of how HIV-positive women across Malawi organized to demand access to quality medication and treatment at the height of the HIV/AIDS pandemic, and then used their collective power to confront a second global pandemic, COVID-19. This is a story about women taking the fight for their own bodies to the body politic and winning. This is a story about countless adversities. This is a story of hope. The Our Bodies, Our Lives movement in Malawi emerged out of a global pandemic. In the early 2000s, the feminist movement support organization, Just Associates, JAS, organized groups of Malawian women to talk about their experiences living with HIV/AIDS. Shireen Esau, JAS executive director, who has accompanied Our Bodies, Our Lives from its beginnings, describes the movement's origins.
Through a number of processes, including deep consultations with a range of different partners and allies, we ended up in Malawi working with a group of about, at that stage, it was maybe 25 community-based women leaders, largely coming from rural communities, but who were leaders in their own right within those communities, in order to begin to start thinking, about the meaning of living in a woman's body, about the meaning of living with HIV, about the meaning of, really reconfiguring what it means to matter as a woman in that body, and what it means to recognize that there are other women who are living similar stories, and that's not an accident, that there is a real structural system that is translating into women who are living with HIV being understood as being part of the walking dead.
The Malawian government was distributing antiretrovirals, or ARVs, for HIV/AIDS that caused deformities in women's bodies, despite the fact that better medications existed.
In Malawi, people were still being given these particular ARVs, causing incredible impacts in terms of the body. And so the rallying call, which birthed the Our Bodies, Our Lives movement, was really around access to quality ARVs. Many women at that time, sort of spoke vocally about how the ARV regimen that they had been given was actually poisonous, that it was poisoning their bodies.
By 2012, the Our Bodies, Our Lives movement, OBLE by its initials, had formed groups across the country to demand quality medication and to stand up against violence and develop economic alternatives. They forged strategic alliances and built effective advocacy work, winning access to better healthcare and medication, and also addressing other basic needs and aspirations, including women's access to land. They began to dream of self-sufficiency and transforming power relations, and their dreams became strategies and then real achievements. Then in 2020, COVID-19 struck.
I think it was really difficult for the groups or for the women to adapt to COVID. I think it really took time, and I think we really had a lot of problems and issues, because we never expected that we would be in a pandemic, which just came abruptly, whereby no one was really ready for it. Sometimes I think when pandemics are coming, we are told other people, they say about it maybe before coming, but this one, it just came, and then it was a shock for everyone. A huge number of women that we are working with living with HIV. I think they comprised almost 80% of the membership that we have. Yeah, so when they were visiting hospitals, the problem was it was a must or a policy to say if you're going anywhere, you have to put on a mask. Whether you're going to a market, you're just moving out your house, anywhere, it was a must to put on a mask. So if women go, if it's their time to collect medication or if they're just sick, if they don't have a mask, they were not attended to. So that was a big issue, and it was a big problem, which also caused a lot of havoc in women's bodies and lives. So it was really something that was really hard for us, and adapting to it really took time. And our organizing was a bit slowed down because of COVID. And I think it took time for us to really start now working on how we can do things better, because we now understood that COVID will be with us for a longer time. Because at first we thought that maybe it will just be a month or 2 months, then it will go. But we understood and said, okay, so this is staying with us, so we have to put in some strategies. So that's where now we started sitting down in our own hubs to say what else, how can we make sure that we adapt to this, and how can we work now, what styles should we put in place to make sure that we are still organizing, we are still building our movement and transforming the powers that are infringing on our rights.
Sibongile Shibwe Singini is a leader and founder of the Obo movement from the Musimba district in the northern region of Malawi. She now works out of Lilongwe. As the country coordinator with Just Associates, she constantly travels among the groups in all the districts. Miriam Muntali, a national organizer for Our Bodies, Our Lives, recalls her first reaction to COVID-19.
When COVID struck, what came to my mind was a lot of fear, because there were a lot of myths that were surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. Then I thought of my life. I thought of my mother, who is old and also sick. Then I thought of the Malawi nation. There were some other restrictions. And that time I was just staying at home. So because of that, I had a lot of unanswered questions in mind. But when it came to organizing, I thought of my fellow women to say, how are we going to survive? How are we going to get the art? And because if we don't do it and just stay idle, who's going to do it? So when SIBO organized some meeting in the regions, because we have the regions, central, southern, and then northern region, WhatsApp groups, SIBO thought for new innovative ways whereby we were able to discuss the ways on how are we going to cope in this situation. What are some of the issues that we are facing? So through those discussions, it was a relief to me, because women were able to open up and we were able to share different experiences from our districts and regions. And so because of that, we were also able to find some solutions that led to bringing hope.
COVID-19 threatened to destroy the hard-won achievements of the Our Bodies, Our Lives groups.
Communities that were heavily impacted by HIV, I think, learned to think in terms of what is going to make us safer rather than what is going to make us safe. And that meant that you constantly had to make choices that allowed people to continue with some essential activities to life while minimizing risk. I say that because I think in the very, very early days of the COVID pandemic, there were interventions, including issues of social distancing, physical distancing, that in some contexts were just not possible because of how it is that our society is organized, because of how it is that money, that class and race, right, operates. And so I think there was something about that very, very early on was something that was very, very upfront and center in terms of how it is that we think about harm reduction and not necessarily risk elimination, which I think is important.
Veronica Banda of the Chinji district in central Malawi adds through a translator.
People struggled to find food because most of the people here in Malawi, we do work. It's hand to mouth. We work, then we buy food for that day. So there were no piece work for women, because a lot of women go out and then do work in homes as maids and all that. So a lot of people, they chased a lot of mates. They said, with this COVID, we can't employ you. Please go and wait until the lockdown is done. So that also really contributed to poverty, and for them even to go to find food, or even to go to the market, or even to go to the hospital, they needed money, because all the transportation was also high because of the measures that were given that time, to say maybe on one chair you can just sit two people. So the cost was for you to pay for two other people that were not on that chair. Yeah, so that also caused a lot of havoc to women. Even schools were closed. So as a woman, you don't have anywhere to go and buy food. You don't have anywhere to go and sell your products that you have had maybe after your harvest.
But the Obo women had discovered their own personal and collective power in organizing for HIV/AIDS prevention and treatment. They had forged alliances with powerful sectors, and they knew how to talk to decision makers and express their demands. The Obo women took the lessons they'd learned building a movement for and of women living with HIV/AIDS and applied them to the new pandemic. Together, they decided that they needed a COVID response focused on the body's most basic need, food.
Having a garden is core, because our staple food in Malawi is maize. So because of that, the gardens are essential to our lives, because that's the only way we can preserve food. Yeah, so currently, as Obo, we are encouraging each other through meetings, the importance of having food gardens. Come rain, come sunshine, come any situation, and also finding new ways of adapting and learning on how best we can do that. And also taking from that, just also trained women in group dynamics, soil fertility, and organic manure making.
By creating family and community food gardens, women had an insurance policy against hunger. Through the production of organic manure as fertilizer, they were able to reduce dependence on markets, fertilize their own gardens, and even sell to others. Then, in February of 2022, Our Bodies, Our Lives suffered another setback. Cyclone Anna swept through Malawi, leaving destruction and death in its path.
So I think it was as if COVID was not enough. Then, boom, another disaster. Yeah, so we were really affected by Cyclone Anna and Dumaco, which made landfall in the southern region and part of central region and also northern region. These winds and also the water ripped off roofs of homes of our members and other people. It uprooted trees, washed away crops, bridges were washed away, roads, and it also brought down power lines in our country. So we're in blackout for most of the days, I think, during that month. So it was really hectic. We couldn't really work. Water was a problem. People couldn't travel from one district to another district. Our fellow women were homeless. Personal property was not spared. It was damaged. You can imagine one woman who lost close to 60 cows And if we talk of cows in Malawi, that is big business, and it means that you have money. You can depend on that for your family for the whole of your life. So imagine the rains, the floods, carrying all what you had, the goats, the house, not leaving anything.
The gardens were destroyed in many areas. The small savings and loans had little capital in the face of immediate needs. Hundreds of members were left, as Veronica says, homeless and hopeless, many in crowded camps, separated from other family members. Men went off to live with other wives, abandoning women and children.
When it came to food gardens, because of the cyclones, most of the food gardens were washed away, leaving the women with nothing. The herb gardens were washed away. Their own individual gardens were also washed away. As a result, the dreams that women had just went like that. So because of that, women felt it's something that was hopeless for them to do again.
But they did do it again. They sowed new gardens and started new projects, including tree planting to stop erosion. Dorothy Mduwana of the hard-hit southern region says another one of the ways the groups got back on their feet after the storm was a project to breed and pass on goats. After the devastation of the storms, the women of Obel had to seek information and allies in a new area that affected their lives drastically: climate change.
We also discussed on this was that we should really start connecting with those organizations that are doing work in climate change environment, so that we should also have knowledge on how can we prepare ourselves to these disasters before they come. Yeah, so this is what we are doing. We have started arranging meetings with them. We want to learn more from them, and then if they have any officers in these districts, they will be also meeting with the OBO members to teach them on how prepared they can be for any disaster that may come.
Malawi's Our Bodies, Our Lives movement now has 30 hubs throughout the country. With members vaccinated, they're able to meet again. We asked them, with so many obstacles, what motivates you to keep going?
Like in the OBO movement, we are empowered and inspired. Like in my case, the skills that I've acquired right now, because I was such a kind of a person who was not even able to stand in the front of people, to speak and share something else. I was just like idle. Even being able to log into Zoom like this, it was something that was very difficult to me. But because of Oba and the leadership of Sibo, she's like, you do it. So because of that, I'm motivated. I'm able to do it. And currently I'm doing it like you are seeing me right now.
Steps from here to there. It's steps from here to there. Oh boy!
So because of that, even in other platforms, when even she's not there, we are able to do the work. So that's the leadership that motivates me and inspires me. In my dream, I've always admired to have different skills. And I believe every day we learn from each other. So as we learn, we also grow. So my intention and my inspiration in my life is to learn and adapt more from the women that we work with, the communities that we live in, the leadership that we have, and the nation at large. And so because of that dream, with the together we can achieve it, because there is nothing for us without us.
I'm an activist. I think I always say that I was born an activist, because right now when I think of what I was doing back, I would say, oh, okay, so I was just doing this for the sake of it. I didn't know that this is activism. But now, since I've learned, oh, so this is activism. Okay, I didn't know. Yeah, so I think the passion that I have, the experiences that I've gone through, and also the experiences that I learn from my fellow women when we meet, it really motivates me. The other thing that really motivates me are the dreams that women are dreaming of having. So one thing that we also do in our training is to make sure that after we raise the consciousness of women, women should have dreams. Women should think of who they want to be maybe in 5 years. What do they want to have? Maybe we are not just a movement that is there just to maybe do things as how others are doing, but we are here to change lives. We are here to transform power.
My message to women and girls all over the world: we are all women. We face same challenges. We have our leaders who are committed to save us, but they are not. We have good policies, but they're not protecting women and girls' rights. So let's wake up, stand up, speak out, and be able to be in decision-making where they are. Women also should be there. Because if we are not there, our concerns, our issues will not be done. So that by the end of the day, women and girls live a dignified life. Nothing for us without us. So women, let's wake up.
Our bodies,
Our lives.
our bodies,
Our lives.
motion,
Women crossing the line.
motion,
Women crossing the line.
motion.
Mama,